Thanks for joining us for another episode of Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover. In a change to our scheduled programming, we're here with our Bets to the Future episode, where we're taking an extremely early look at all the key betting markets ahead of the 2024 NFL season. We're post free agency, we're post the draft. This is the first time me, Byron, and Joe are going to sit down, make some picks, make some bets. Not ones are necessarily going to be held to by the time the season comes around and starts. Some maybe not. But this is what we're liking to start at this point in the off season. Byron, Joe, welcome. How are you both doing? We've just all sat and watched Real Madrid, Bayern Munich in the Champions League, another wild ending, and we're on to Good Teams and Great Teams Cover. What a night!
Yeah, big time, wild one. Real Madrid just do it, right? I mean, they might need to pay an assistant referee to do so, but yeah, they just get it done.
Yeah, Bayern may have been shafted at the end there, but like Real Madrid are just I think they're just testing themselves and making it more challenging ways to do it. Let's see if we can have an ex-Stoke striker come on and win the game for us miraculously.
A lot of people call him Dos Alu. It's my pun of the day. I'm loving it. Dos, like Spanish for two.
Yeah, excellent. Just in case you didn't get that out there. Yes, but anyway, less of Hala Madrid and more on to the NFL 2024 season. And the BetMax, first time we've properly sat down and had a look at it. How did you find going through kind of the big markets? Because that's what we're going to look at. We're not going to look at, intricacies and receiving yards, over-unders, and all that jazz. That'll come in August, September for us. But we're just on the main ones. How did you find kind of sitting down and going through it all?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think roughly the teams you expect to be near the top are near the top as usual. But it's fun seeing the Lions as 4th favorite to win the Super Bowl. That takes some getting used to. Not my pick, but they were my early prediction of being in the Super Bowl. So. Yeah, it's fun to look at, certainly.
Yeah, I think there's some interesting markets. I think there's some like big prices to actually get at, to be honest. I think the bookies have just like putting out the feelers, what everyone thinks is going to be the standard winners, and I think there's some good money to make at this stage, and yeah, fun to talk about.
Excellent. Yeah, if you're willing to sit, there's some great prices. If you're willing to sit on it for a long time, you could be on some big winners. Couple of bits of news, I suppose one big bit of news since we got together last time for our winners and losers. OBJ is signed with the Miami Dolphins, 1 year, $8.25 million. Kind of with where Miami were after the draft, what do you make of OBJ going to the Dolphins? I think it's a weird one for me. What do you guys think? What do you guys feel?
I think it's just fine. Like, I think it's not moving the needle. I don't think it's going to help them come January, but I think they do need a third receiver, like Braxton Berrios, Malik Washington, the rookie. I don't think they're exactly reliable, certainly. OBJ had his moments in Baltimore last year, but I mean, come the end of the season, he was basically not in the offense. I don't have high hopes for it, but I think as just a body to be the wide receiver 3-4, I think it's absolutely fine. Just that's what he is at this stage of his career.
Plenty more boat photos, so it's a
very good point. Yeah,
in Miami way.
Won't be a shortage of those. Nothing I can try the news because we hadn't planned to go through this segment. But I think the only other bit of news is Rashee Rice has got himself in trouble again.
Yeah, I love the idea of like the Chiefs being like, "Hey, just keep quiet," after the driving incident in Texas, and now he's like, "I'm just going to assault a photographer," allegedly at this point, I guess. Yeah, I don't think the Chiefs will be too happy. Obviously, he was a real big part of their offense last year. And obviously, they added Javier Worthy and they added Marquise Brown, but none of them are going to do the Rashee Rice role. So it's having an awful lot on Kelsey's plate again. If Rice is going to, I've seen early reports, this was last week, that they're expecting him to miss half the season just from the Texas incident. And the more you add on that plate, the heavier the suspension potentially is. It's not a good precedent. And, there was character concerns of him when he was drafted. It doesn't really bode well a year into his career. He's got a huge driving offense with other things tacked onto it. And then, weeks later, he's allegedly attacking a photographer at a nightclub. It doesn't bode well, does it?
No, not all. He should get the hell out of Dallas. I think he's clearly surrounding himself with surround himself not with the people he needs to be doing. But yeah, just Braden. Why is it always not always, but why is it so common with the wide receivers? What is it about that wide receiver position?
Divas, isn't it?
Divas, yeah. I don't know. She Rice needs to get stuff sorted, and yeah, it's going to be crazy if he's not suspended. I think, given the 2 incidents.
And it's one of them where like he's lucky as well because he could be Henry Ruggs.
Yeah,
you crash into someone at 120 miles an hour, give or take, and you're lucky you don't kill somebody, and your life is changed forever. Like, and so is obviously the person who would suffer, like the actual victim. But like to get away with that with only like, you're caught because you have guns on the scene or drugs on the scene or both, and you walked away from the incident, and it's a speeding penalty and you cause a crash. Like all those things are pretty light in comparison to, reckless driving causing a death. And he did not cause a death through his own responsible behavior. He's lucky that he didn't.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that was it for major news. Unless I missed anything, we're still waiting on the schedule release. That's probably going to be next week. So we'll be able to find out kind of the kickoff game, games of the land, and the international series game. So we'll see who the Bears, Vikings, and Jags take on. I think it's not nailed on. I think it's enough to say it's going to be the Bears are going to play the Jags, so we'll get the Jags back-to-back weeks again in fucking London. God damn it, I'm sick of the sight of the Jacksonville Jaguars. But we'll got the Bears, given the draft they've had, will be certainly a attractive proposition at Spurs. The Vikings as well to an extent. As the other home team, and then we'll see who the Jags play at Wembley. So there's all that to come next week as well. So we'll probably talk about it the week after, depending when we record next week.
And the biggest NFL news that everyone finally stopped talking about, Tom Brady got roasted for 3 hours. Did you all watch this?
I watched it the other day. I watched that instead of watching Manchester United on Monday night.
Oh, the Eric Ten Hag roast, yeah.
The Eric Ten Hag roast, yeah.
Or the Casemiro roast. I started watching it this morning. I thought I'll put it on in the background while I'm doing some work. It's 3 hours long.
It is, yeah. It is very long. I've watched it all. There are some bits, and I guess because I don't know who out of the players, so the expatriates, majority of them, I don't know who wrote their own parts and who written it for them. But I think on the whole, the players do a better job than the comedians. But I imagine they heavily contribute to writing a lot of that content, I'd have thought.
Yeah, I only got like an hour in, and I was like, I need to. I'll be watching this in parts. It's so long. Yeah. I really wasn't expecting 3 hours of content. And yeah, Kevin Hart is already doing my head in. Like after every act, it's like this long. It feels like a real long thing from Kevin Hart about how great they are, and he's a gag about them. Like I know that's what a roast is, but it got repetitive really quickly.
There's a lot.
Nikki Glaser was pretty brutal. That was pretty good.
Yeah, Nikki Glaser was pretty good. How for the comedians on the whole.
I didn't like, I forget the guy's name, Tom Segura, and the guy who always takes his top off, Brett something. That was awful. That was like a sketch. That was a sketch. That wasn't a roast.
Yeah. I suppose it needed a little something different in it because otherwise it was just.
Yeah.
But
I think that's about when I knocked it off, though.
Some of the players, Edelman, I thought Edelman in particular, Randy Moss's maybe wasn't as interesting. Bledsoe was fantastic. Edelman, pretty good. Peyton Manning, awesome. Bill Belichick was also fantastic as well. Enjoyed that one. And Brady seemed to take it quite well, apart from one of the comedians he stepped up to, and I don't think that was a bit. I think it was real when they started going after Kraft.
Yeah.
I
imagine that was probably agreed to beforehand that you don't mention Kraft's massages. Let's be blunt, and. Yeah, I thought it was pretty good of Brady to get up and just like openly say like, "Shut the fuck up, don't say it again."
Yeah,
there is a line. Robert Kraft's not there for the roast
as well. It wasn't recorded; it was a live broadcast on Netflix at the time as well. So that was also made me think. Yeah, no, he's definitely just crossed the line that Brady clearly didn't agree to. Yeah. But yeah, I thought it was fantastic. Who else would you see? Who else? I don't know if there's really at this moment. Anyone else? Maybe Kelsey. Maybe Travis Kelsey would be a good one for that in the future. I don't know, actually, maybe because
it's hard. Like, Brady's so kind of like one of one. There's a part of me that like love to see like Michael Jordan, but I think he would just like get up and nut somebody. I don't know if he'd have the good grace that Tom Brady does. Peyton Manning would probably be a good one as well. I think you need that ability to laugh at yourself. I liked Eli Manning the next day as well. Like, I didn't turn up because I didn't want to roast Tom Brady for a third time, which I thought, yeah, well played, Eli. Eli gets it.
Yeah. So it'd be interesting to see. They might come back. There's been a while, I think, since there was a run of those a few years ago, and they went away, and maybe they'll come back. So I think that's going to turn to that. They've done massive numbers for Netflix, so we shall see. But let's move on. Bets to the future. Byron, you're gonna captain this ship the rest of the way.
Cool. So yeah, we'll start off with the biggie. We'll start off with our Super Bowl winner. You pick one team to win the Super Bowl. Obviously, we had our way too early look last week at our pick a matchup. But yeah, this is just who are we picking to win the Super Bowl straight up. Paul, you've got the screen up there with your Bet365 odds. Who are you picking?
Yeah, so we've got there on the screen for the benefit of those people on YouTube, people listening on Spotify, not going to get this. But yeah, we've got the Bet365 markets just for on the screen. So yeah, my Super Bowl winner, I'm going to go. I like this. And you know what? They're not even on the screen right now. I'll just have to open up the show more section. I'm going to take the LA. But I really like the LA Rams at plus 3,300. I like what they've done in the off season. I like what they've done in the draft in particular. Obviously, they've lost Aaron Donald, he was a huge part of that Super Bowl winning team in 2021. But in Jared Verse, in Braylon Trice, and obviously they already had their rookie D tackle last year. I think they are. I do absolutely think Aaron Donald is irreplaceable, but they have got enough talent there where actually that defensive line is still going to be really, really strong. It's just going to be different for the Rams because we're just used to seeing them, Aaron Donald dominate inside. But we saw how good Puka Nacua was last year. I'm not suggesting he would replicate that, but he's clearly an extremely good receiver. Cooper Kupp had injury problems. If they can keep Cooper Kupp fit, they've got somebody who's been there, done it in a quarterback in Matthew Stafford, and they've got an absolutely fantastic coach in Sean McVay. I really like the Rams at 30 as a value play at 33-1.
Absolutely no complaints from me. Joe, who's your Super Bowl pick?
Yeah, I'll go a bit more chalk and a bit short odds, but I was surprised what they went compared to the best teams. But I'm going to go Philadelphia Eagles at plus 1,600. I just think with the conference we're in, I still think the NFC is probably slightly weaker than the AFC, so I think it's an easier path. Obviously, they had a bit of a meltdown last year, and as everyone said, how we won the draft, so it feels like they fixed the issues. I think if the offense gets cooking again, I think, again, they've lost a big player in Kelsey, so that could possibly be a reason. But it felt like the first 10 games, they were just, especially on offense, they were, they weren't rolling, but they were still a good enough team to get far, and then they suddenly just, dropped off the edge of the cliff. So I think if they can sort that out, get back to what they're good at, then at plus 1,600, I think they're one of the favourites to win the NFC, and once you're in the Super Bowl, anything can happen. So I'm going to go the Eagles at 16-1.
Grand. I like the Eagles as well. They are not my pick. I've gone AFC. I think to NFC so far. I've gone AFC. I've gone also 1,600 on here and DraftKings where I bet Houston Texans. I just think, again, they're so well built. They had Stephon Diggs. A little bit maybe of a luxury, but if you can add a player like that for a second round value, I think it's a great fit for a team who can afford to pay it on a rookie contract. Absolutely zero reasons to doubt DeMeco Ryans. CJ Stroud looks so legit. I think he looks like a top 5 quarterback in the NFL already. I think everything's really in place there. I think they've even upgraded. Devin Singletary was fine last year. Joe Mixon's an improvement, and it's a short-term win. So yeah, I've gone the Texans in competitive AFC, but I think they're well set to get there. Moving on to our conference winners, I'm going to go first here just because they've already been covered by Joe. So I went with the Eagles at plus 700 as Paul gets our teams up on YouTube here. I fully agree. Can't really disagree with anything Joe said. Also, they got rid of Matt Patricia.
Just that.
That'll do it. That'll push you over from going 10-0 to finishing 11-6, I believe. 11-0 to finishing 11-6, whatever it was, and getting blasted out of the playoffs. Get rid of Matt Patricia, and all your ills will be eased. I think they've had a very good offseason again. Obviously, lost Kelsey, but they've been preparing for Kelsey's absence for a couple of years now. I think it seems so glib to keep saying about the Eagles, but they just have so few weak points. So yeah, and yeah, Big Dom is back. Comeback player of the year. Comeback sideline guy of the year, maybe. Very good shout. But yeah, I just think the Eagles are a great bet. 700.
Big Dom didn't work for the 76ers the other night in the playoffs. He was
he there?
He was cut side. So a couple of the Eagles players were there, so he was there as a result.
As the protector.
Yeah, I think he was caught side where they got dumped out by the Knicks in the first round of the playoffs.
Trust that process. So Joe, you went obviously Eagles for the NFC. Who's your AFC conference winner?
I'll flip to the AFC, and I'm going to go the Bengals. I was thinking about choosing them for the Super Bowl, but I'm going to go the Bengals for the conference winner plus 700. I don't know why. I just love Joe Burrow effect. He's coming off the injury all last year. He was injured all of last year. I think what happened in the off season and just before the start, certainly affected him, and he felt like he was just getting back to where Joe Burrow couldn't be until he injured his shoulder or elbow, his arm anyway. So I think if he can come back, I think they've managed. I think the two players who have obviously wanted to leave, the Bengals are just going to keep him and say, we might not pay you, but you're playing this year, basically. Yep. So yeah, and I think they're just that kind of team which, no matter what happens, I always feel like they've got a chance to win it, and they've proved they can beat KC a number of times, and I think that's one of the big things. So yeah, Bengals at plus 700 is where I'm going.
Love it. Paul, AFC team?
Might be able to tell by my reaction in the background there that I also had picked the Cincinnati Bengals at plus 700. Nice. I like that very much. I did unintentionally rematch of the Super Bowl that the Rams won. Rams, I suppose they're Rams Bengals. I like the value and just Burrow coming back as well. But I suppose I don't see the two more. It's so hard to look outside the Chiefs in the AFC. I think it's difficult, and the only reason, to Joe's point, was that Burrow has form, but the Bengals have beat the Chiefs multiple times, so that's why. But yeah, if obviously Joe's taking the Bengals, Chiefs at plus 325, it's not particularly great value to win a conference, but yeah, I mean, somebody else beats him.
Yeah, I was really close to picking the Bengals when we done our early picks last week. I think Bengals one of my two Super Bowl matchups. I think they're very well set again, and fully agree with what Joe's saying. Higgins and Hendrickson are going to get told, you're staying for the year. What is the benefit to the Bengals trading at this point? 2025 draft picks ain't helping you win a championship. So, totally. We're going to pick division winners. We're not going to pick every division. That'll come in time. We're just going to pick three each, our three favorite odds for division winners. We're going to go one at a time each.
Yeah, I'm terrible at maneuvering this screen, by the way.
I think you're doing a grand job. Our YouTube viewers, I'm sure, will be tuning in and giving props to it. Paul, you go ahead. Do you want to pick your first one, or do you want to pick all three?
So I'll pick the first one. We'll go around. I'm going to take, again, this one's the odds. They had a winning record last year. They got to the playoffs, yet they are the fourth team in their division. I'm going to take the Pittsburgh Steelers at plus 700.
700, big price.
To win a tight AFC North. They are much better set at the quarterback position, I believe. So whether we see Russ Wilson, whether we see Justin Fields, whether we see what's likely a combination of both of them over the course of the season, whether Justin Fields returns kicks, who knows? But I think the Steelers are pretty set there that they will get enough decent play out of whoever it is that plays quarterback for them. That'll be an improvement on Kenny Pickett, Mason Rudolph, whoever else.
Trubisky again?
Trubisky, did he play? But he played a couple of games last year.
I think he did last year, yeah. So, yeah, absolutely, going to be an improvement.
Yeah. And, they've first-round draft pick on that old line that needed some support. They're already real solid on defense. I think their first 4 draft picks will have big impacts for them. Yeah. Love the 2 Wilson picks, and they've got a starting center in Fraser. So, yeah, I think because they don't need to win that many more games, right? They won 10 games last year.
Yeah.
A 10-game team that are 7-1 to win the division just didn't seem to make any sense to me. So I love the Steelers at 7-1.
Nice. Joe, who's your first division winner?
Yeah, while we talk about the AFC North, I might as well go with mine. I'm similar reasoning to what Paul. Mine's the Browns. I don't know if they're going to get much better quarterback. output, but they seem like a team, even without a great quarterback, they win. And I think that defense is going to be, it's going to hold them up again. You get Chubb back, you get Jerry Jeudy. And I think it's just going to be such a tight division. So for that price, I think it's worth having a punt on either of them two teams that Paul mentioned as well, because like you said, it feels like 1 or 2 wins either way. Come win you the division when it's plus 550. Do like the Browns. Still no question. We still know what's happening with Watson and all that kind of, output there. But I feel like they've got a good, solid team around him, and they don't need him to perform at a top 10 level. They just need him to be an average quarterback, and they're going to get 9 or 10 wins again, and it's going to be down to them division games. So I do like their odds.
Cool. Well, I'll stick with the theme, I guess. I'm going Cincinnati. So it's everyone but the Ravens, apparently, is who we fancy to win division. Kind of what's swaying me a little is the top 3 teams in strength of schedule, or bottom teams, I guess the hardest 3 schedules this coming year, based on last season, so, will change, is Browns number 1, Ravens number 2, Steelers number 3, and the Bengals having the 4th place schedule at middle of the pack. And I think they're an incredible team. I did last year as well, obviously. If Burrow had played, I think they probably would have won the division, because they weren't far off it without Burrow. I can certainly see the value in the Browns and the Steelers. I just think the Bengals, truthfully, I think they're probably the best team in the division, and I think they're going to go on and clinch the division. Not the best value at plus 160, but yeah. And they weren't my first choice, but I thought it just ties up nicely here with the other AFC North teams being picked. I'll take my second, and then we'll roll back. Not much needs to be said, really, again, because we've already touched on them a few times. Eagles plus 130. Staggering to me that they have the same odds as the Cowboys. I can't understand it. One of them has really had a strong offseason. One of them has not. Cowboys have not, very clearly. I just think the Eagles at plus 130 is just a screaming value at plus money.
Well, the Cowboys are just about to sign Zay Jones, so done nothing.
Well, just think that them odds are just only going to go up and up for the Eagles. So maybe don't bet today. Maybe bet tomorrow when they're plus 132. Joe, who's your second team?
I'm going to stick to the AFC. I'm going to go AFC South. I'm going to go the Colts.
Ooh.
I think at plus 320, I think with Richardson coming back, again, they were a team who feels like they've got their head coach for the future. They seem like a good, well-run team, and they played most of the season with Gardner Minshew. So if Richardson can stay fit, because he did look electrifying, and everyone's just assuming that the Texans is just going to, storm it again, win that division. But, even last year with Stroud having a good year, it came down to the last player, basically, and the Colts could have won that division. So I think if they can keep Richardson on the field and at plus 320, I think it's a good shout, because I think it's going to be another close division going down to the last few games. And, you look at that Colts defense, especially that line, it's looking menacing. And, like I said, I think if I had to choose who would win, I would probably say the Texans. But at that money with the Colts, I think it's going to be fairly close. So I'm happy to go, plus 320 and give that a shot.
Nice. Paul, your 2 and then your 3?
So I'll go my 2, and I'll stay in that same division. And almost logic, I think the 3 are so close. I think the 3 are so close. The Jaguars, similar to the Eagles, were in a great position and then just pissed it away, didn't they? Really down the stretch. It's a big year for Trevor Lawrence. I actually think they had a pretty good night. I think a pretty good draft. The other week, they've got Brian Thomas Jr., a weapon that they sort of needed, traded down, and were able to kind of pick up some more pieces that they need. It's a huge year for Trevor Lawrence, I think, because I think last year was a big down year for him. I'm going to take him at plus 250. I think the Texans, Jaguars, and Colts. I like what the Texans have done, of course, and rightfully so that they are favourites, but I still think the 3 teams, the Texans, Jaguars, and Colts, are still pretty close. Jaguars at plus 250. I wavered between the Jaguars and Texans, but Jaguars at plus 250. And then for my last one, give me Aaron Rodgers, give me the Jets to win the AFC East, plus 225. They've got that. The defense is loaded. It's what kind of the year before kept him in games. Hopefully Rodgers comes back off his Achilles injury and plays the full year. if Aaron Rodgers plays 17 games, the New York Jets win this division.
Tough to argue.
225.
I think
Bills are on the slide.
Yep.
I just don't understand what Miami have done the last few months, and I just think they're soft. Give me Aaron Rodgers. Give me the Jets.
I was gonna say, I hope Joe's not picking Bills or Dolphins. Spoiler alert, I'm not. But yeah, I just find I didn't bet the Jets either, but like I think they would be my pick of this division, just because again the Bills. Josh Allen's gonna have to do an awful lot, and he does do an awful lot every year. It feels like, but it's relying on it every single year to keep being the same, despite things getting worse around him. I think that's a real good bet at 225. Joe, your third one and final?
Yeah, Jets was going to be my third pick, so I'll go to the NFC. I'll go NFC South. It's in between two, but I'll give them some love, which I don't normally do, and I'm going to go the New Orleans Saints.
Hey.
Plus 350. I just think it's just been a given that the Falcons are suddenly a good team now because they've got the quarterback. We don't know what Cousins going to be like coming off his Achilles and being 38 years old. He could absolutely stink. And obviously they've got the Penix Jr. Who knows what he's like as well in the league. So I think it's a gamble just to assume that the Falcons are going to win that easily. I still think that defense is fairly shaky. Obviously they've got the new head coach is very defensive minded, so I think he's going to improve that way. But I just don't see the Falcons being that. I don't know why they're that big of a favourite just because they got a quarterback when they have issues across the board and
two quarterbacks.
Well, yeah, you got two quarterbacks, and it was a toss up between the Saints and the Bucs. But I feel like the Bucs are going to come back to the pack a little bit, and I feel like the Saints within that division have got a chance. And again, it's the third favourite team in the division with. Plus 350, I think it's good money because again, I think that's going to be a tight division and see where it goes. But who knows? Derek Carr or the backup could be the new star of the NFC South.
Spencer Rattler.
There you go. Paul's favourite.
Could be Jake Haener, but yeah, certainly going to be somebody. I think Derek Carr might just hold on to the job as well. I don't think Derek Carr's quite as bad as we make out sometimes. Like, I don't think he's a top 10 quarterback, but I don't think he's like bottom 5 either. And again, kind of a bit of kismet here. I'm going Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I thought you were going to say Bucs when you said NFC South. I was like, well, I'm going to take the Bucs regardless because I think they're a screaming value at plus 300. I can't understand it. They've won the division 3 years in a row, I believe.
Yeah, 3 years in a row, yeah.
Obviously, Dave Canales has left to Carolina, which I think will impact the offense, but everything's came back as I would like it, really. I think they had a good draft. I think, they haven't changed too much, but I don't think they needed to. I just think this is a good, solid team, and I just don't really understand why Atlanta are minus 125. I don't understand why Atlanta are minus money. I think Atlanta were in a real good position to do something. I don't want to keep harping on about Penix all off season, but I think it's a weird situation to put themselves in, and we don't know how Kirk Cousins is going to be. Obviously, we don't know how Aaron Rodgers is going to be either, but Aaron Rodgers was earlier in the off season, and Aaron Rodgers' upside is bigger than Kirk Cousins. Like, it's just a fact. So yeah, I'm kind of confused why the Falcons are minus 125 and the Bucs are plus 300. I think Bucs, one of my favorite bets of this entire sheet we've laid out here. So yeah, 9 different division winners. I think we probably hit all 9 of those. Don't know if you had any, apart from the AFC North where we contrasted a lot.
We picked 3 of the 4 teams. Yeah,
anyone, but so yeah, put your money on the Baltimore. We're going to do one playoff team and one team to not make the playoffs. Who started so far? Joe, do you want to go first here? So
yeah,
playoff team.
Yeah, it's probably similar to what it was before. I do like the Saints at plus 180. Like I said, I think it's going to be a close division run, and they're playing each other, so they're going to pick wins that way. I think obviously their schedule is probably going to be a lot harder this year than last year, so they need to improve that way. But I feel like the Saints could be thereabouts, and looking at all the odds, I think plus 180 to make the playoffs. Yeah, is a good price if I had to choose any.
Cool. Paul, who you got for the playoffs?
Yeah, I'm going to go Arizona Cardinals at plus 350. I think I've mentioned this a couple of times. I don't think they're as bad of a team as their kind of record suggested. They were at 4-13 last year. I think they stuck around in a lot of games before Kyler came back. Kyler knocked the rust off, coming back from his ACL. Started to look a bit better the last few weeks. That he was incredible in that game against the Eagles that they came back to win. And they've just got themselves the best player in the entire draft. in Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought a draft as a whole, I think, what was it, six picks in the top 6 of the top 100 picks, I think.
Thereabouts,
the
6 or 7,
had. Yeah, they've used this, they were smart going up and down the board last year, kind of collected a lot of picks, and then they've spent them. And it's a team that absolutely has a lot of holes. But I think there's, they've a lot of strength running the ball. That O-line's got better. They've got the best player and best wide receiver in the draft, and they're going to have a fully fit and healthy Kyler Murray, who is in the top third of quarterbacks in the NFL. So I think they can get to 10 wins. I don't think they can win. They're not going to beat the Niners to the division, but yeah, at plus 350 to make the playoffs, it's one of those 3 wildcard teams. Yeah, why the hell not?
Grand. I've gone NFC West as well. And I think all 3 of them, the 49ers, are great values, but I've gone to Seahawks at plus 200. I have a lot of faith in Mike McDonald coming in there. I think he's going to be a real sharp head coach. I think a change in Seattle was needed. With Pete Carroll as great as he was in his time there, I think they drafted well. I think the team's well set for success already. And I think they were pretty unlucky to not get in last year as it was. I think in the long term, that's probably going to be a good thing because it led to them clearing the decks and getting a new head coach in there. But yeah, I just think they're too good of a team really to be plus 200. I do like the Cardinals as well, plus 350. The Rams are plus money as well. Like this division, it's 4 very good teams, or maybe not very good in the case of the Cardinals, but certainly 4 ascending teams still. And yeah, it's not a surprise none of us touched the Niners to win the division. I think they probably should still be the favourites, but it's a lot of good teams. And yeah, Seahawks, I just think 200 is a great bet.
Might be a bit of a closer run thing this year, the NFC West, I think. And the Niners kind of Joe disagrees. Still think they'll probably win it, but I think it'll be close. I think, the Rams are really, really strong again, and one of those other 2 could be, a surprise double-digit. I wouldn't say surprise, but surprise double-digit winning team.
Yeah, and we had 4 winning teams in the AFC North last year. I wouldn't be surprised to see us have 4 winning teams in the NFC West this year, and 3 playoff teams. I don't know if you'd ever get 4. That feels like a stretch, but with an extra playoff team, it's certainly doable. I'll go with my non-playoff team as well then. And again, we've kind of hinted it a little already with our division winners. I'm going Baltimore to miss the playoffs at plus 260.
Oh,
I just think they've got a lot of gaps on their team still, and it's Baltimore, so they're not going to be, This isn't a Bill Belichick. I'm going to call for John Harbaugh to get fired. Absolutely not. I still think they're going to be competitive. I still think they might be 9-8. I mean, they could be 10-7. They could win the division, realistically. Let's be fair. I'm not writing them off entirely. But I just think at plus 260, the wide receiver room's got worse. Again, they're relying on Rashad Bateman to do something, which he hasn't done in his entire career. Mark Andrews misses games every season. I think in his entire career, he's played 2 full game slates out of 6 seasons. The O-line obviously was impacted through free agency. They lost defensive players as well. And they will replenish, and they're very well coached. So they're not going to be, like I said, not going to go 3-14. That isn't going to happen. But I just think at plus 260 is such a good bet to not make the playoffs, considering the strength of that division, considering the strength of their schedule. And you're basically asking Lamar to be near perfect again, which Lamar is very, very good. You won't find a bigger fan than me, but I think sometimes it just gets a bit too much. Paul, who have you got?
I'm going to take our Dallas Cowboys at plus 190. Yeah, it's been a mess, hasn't it? The off-season. I don't want to keep coming back to it, but this all-in thing. Free agent. It's more free agency. Apparently I'm placing that bet now. Sorry. Free agency was a mess where they've so many holes, and it's not just the lack of people that they brought in; it's what they lost. They lost so many. They lost key starters.
Yeah.
You lost Tyron Smith, the left tackle. You've lost Tyler Badash, your starting centre. And yeah, you might have got replaced. You might have got people in the draft. Or you might kick out Tyler Smith, and you've got Guyton, and you've got Bebe. I keep wanting to say Bebe, but it's BB in it.
Yeah.
BB, who I think will be really, really good. It was a draft where, if that was the same draft, if it was the same collection of players 12 months ago, I'd be like, that's a really, really good draft.
Yeah.
Quite comfortable. And there's I think there's some really, really good players that they've got. I just think there's just so many holes. Zeke's back. Yeah, I don't know about that. They're on about now. They'll sign Zay Jones. There's just a lot of problems. I just don't see. Yes, they've been a 12-win team for 3 years in a row. The schedule's brutal.
Yeah.
I'm really struggling to see. You've got a coach on a lame duck contract, a quarterback on almost same same situation.
Franchise wide receiver who's not signed and is probably going to get
you've got
disgruntled with that soon.
Lamb who might hold out. You've got Parsons you need to sort out.
Yep.
It's becoming more and more a mess. More and more of a mess as the days go by.
Yep.
And that schedule. But I'm really struggling to how they're going to get to 7-8 wins. I really do. The schedule's brutal.
They were in my thought with the Ravens, truthfully, but I kind of knew you'd go the Cowboys. So I thought I'll go a bit different. I wouldn't be stunned if they make the playoffs. But yeah, plus money to not. Yeah, I think that's absolutely fine. But
I got that record against the winning winning teams. That they win only, under McCarthy, they'll only win games against winning teams 30% of the time. Yeah. They play a lot of teams who had a winning record last year. You're gonna have to win every game. You have to win every other game. If you pick up a couple of wins there and win every other game, and I think I managed to get them to 9 wins by doing that, but I just can't see them doing it.
And we talked about this on draft recap as well. The Commanders and the Giants got better as well compared to how the Cowboys did. We've touched on the Eagles a lot. We don't need to cover that anymore. But yeah, I think the Commanders, what they've done in the offseason, they're kind of look like a professional organization, which is huge praise for Washington considering the last 15, 20 years. And the Giants, I think, vastly improved in the offseason. You can only do so much, obviously, but I think they improved a lot more. I'm not sure I'd pick either of them to finish ahead of Dallas this year. But I wouldn't be stunned if either of them do either. And I think, they'll have made it more difficult for Dallas to go well in the division.
It's weird seeing Washington just make competent moves and decisions.
Yeah,
it's just bizarre.
Yeah, I don't like it.
You're on Snyder already.
Joe, are you joining the fleet and going 49ers to miss the playoffs?
No. It would be good money, though. But
it would be. Well, 49ers to miss the playoffs. Only plus 375. I thought it might be more than that.
Me too. It's a tough division, I guess. Yeah.
So I've got a few to choose from. You haven't picked any of the ones because I think it's a good money. We've already touched on the Falcons and Bills, who are both plus money, but I'll go the Bears at plus 100 at evens.
Yeah.
I just think I know same last year. Everyone just assumes that the Bears. I think they're gonna improve. I think it's gonna look better than last year. But again, they're in a tough division. Like when you look at the other teams in there, they're probably the third favorite to win that division behind the Lions and the Packers and the Vikings. I think they're going to be they've still got the best wide receiver in the league, and I think that defense they've actually given some pieces to for the team. So I think the Bears are again at evens. I think that's a good shout because I think a lot of people have just thought they'll make the playoffs because they've got the best quarterback in the draft and one of the top 3 wide receivers, so they're obviously going to get better, which I think they'll be better, but I don't know if they finish third in their division. We've talked about the Rams looking good, we've talked about the Seahawks, the Cardinals, and if the NFC gets any better, and we just mentioned like the Giants and Commanders getting better as well, so I don't think it's a guarantee. So I like the Bears at evens not to make the playoffs, just miss out.
Yeah, they weren't on my shortlist, but they certainly weren't on my shortlist to make the playoffs either. I thought they were way too short to make the playoffs. It's hope season, isn't it? Bet on them to do what they haven't done for, I'm not going to say for years, but more often than not, they miss the playoffs. So, I like that one. That's all our team markets covered. So I'm going to move on to individual players. Start out with MVP. As Paul brings up the sheet for our YouTube viewers. Paul, who are you going for?
I talked about the New York Jets winning the AFC East. So I'm going to go Aaron Rodgers.
What price we got on Aaron Rodgers?
Plus 2,500 for Aaron Rodgers to 25-1. I think he's just insane value.
Big narrative as well there.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a 4. How many times has he won it? Has he won it 4 times?
Oh,
is he 4-time MVP? Yeah, he's a 4-time MVP. He's got pedigree. If the Jets get to double digit, if the Jets win the division and win 10, 11, 12 games, why the hell would Aaron Rodgers not be MVP? You'd think he'd have the numbers, he'd have the stat lines, the turnovers would be low, he'd have plenty of touchdowns, plenty of yards, he'd have all the.
And the combination of New York and Aaron Rodgers isn't going to be like a unheralded story.
Exactly, yeah. So, I just thought that the value, you've got your top, top 10 in odds there, top 12, maybe more. I might be missing. It's McCaffrey's the first non-quarterback, so you've got your top 20 there are quarterbacks. And Aaron Rodgers is one of the best of them. Yeah.
Tough to argue, certainly. And I hope I'm not going to ruin Joe's pick here, but like looking at the sheet here in front of us, I'd rather bet an Aaron Rodgers at 2,500 than Tua at 20-1. Comfortably. I think those should certainly be the other way around. I don't know how Tua gets MVP if he's not going to even be in consideration last year when he's the passing leader. It's just not that. Doesn't have the draw, does he? Joe, please don't tell me you've picked Tua.
No, I haven't. And I'm sticking with my own team. I'm going to go Brock Purdy just because I feel like he was close last year. He was in the conversation. And I feel like he's going to put up the stats. I think the 49ers are still going to be a big offensive machine. So I think he's going to be there and thereabouts. If he doesn't have the meltdowns in like against the Ravens in the big games, I think he would have been made a lot closer to Jackson. So I think if no one has like a crazy year, I think that's what it's just depending on. If everyone's just similar and no one's like, some years, probably most years, there's always like one person like, oh, he's the MVP because he's just had a crazy year. But I think if it's like close, I think Purdy's going to have the numbers. He's going to have all the, the PFF and all them kind of stats bigging him up. So I think at that price of 1,400, that it's a good price that he's going to be in contention and he could possibly win if someone doesn't go crazy. So I'm going to go Brock Purdy.
Grand. I'm going to go for someone who was in contention last year as well and kind of fell away. And again, touching on a lot of the picks for what he'd done, or I've certainly made, Jalen Hurts, plus 1,500 on mine. Looks like 1,600 to 365.
I thought when you were saying that, you were going to go Dak then.
Well, no. He was in the race last year.
He was in the race till the last few weeks,
Yeah, and Jalen Hurts was in for the first 10 weeks, 11 weeks. But yeah, Jalen Hurts has consistently been really good. I think I was listening to the Athletic Football podcast this week where they were drafting quarterbacks for the next 3 years. And I don't think Jalen Hurts got drafted. And I feel like I'm kind of missing, like...
That's wild.
Yeah, like Jordan Love got drafted. Drake May got drafted. And I'm just like, as a hater gone way too far on Jalen Hurts, I don't realize it. He's still really good, and he's a dual threat. Obviously, the tush push might be reduced, but they've got Saquon Barkley; they'll be just fine. Devonta Smith long term, AJ Brown's long term. Dallas Goedert's maybe not an elite tight end, but he's absolutely functional. I like again the stuff they've done in the draft. I think they're going to be a top level NFC team. Obviously, I picked them to win the conference, and Jalen Hurts will be the leader of that team again. I just think, plus 15 or plus 1,600 even better.
He probably came in from like 20 or 18 when the video of him squatting in the gym came out again the other day.
Yeah, I seen that was like the Eagles were looking, season ready. It's like, I mean, they're at the gym. It's where I'd expect them to be at this time.
First team to lift weights.
Yeah, what an honor. Not sure how that's played off historically as winning playoff games, but fair enough, they're trying. More than could be said for being all in, I guess. Cool. That's our MVPs, all quarterbacks, unsurprisingly. Offensive rookie of the year. Sorry.
Just a quick shout out. Is there any way it isn't a quarterback? And if so, who could possibly do it?
Well, I mean, we're getting to our OP or Y picks there probably. If we're doing an extra shout out, mine is for an extra quarterback, and he's already been mentioned here. I just really struggled to find a market that I wanted to back him or his team in. But it's in Indianapolis called Anthony Richardson. I think he could come in and be Lamar Jackson second season-esque and just kind of destroy the league at 3,500. Even going back to our first live draft show last year, we were all a bit projecty, but in his games that he played, he showed that he belongs and he is a real weapon. Shane Steichen's an incredibly skillful, offensive-minded head coach. If I had to pick a second favorite for MVP, it would be Richardson. I just struggle to see them getting to 13 wins, which I think is kind of where you need to 12, 13, where you need to get to. Yeah. But I can't pick a non-quarterback. I don't really see a world where it happens. You'd have to be looking at, CMC, Bijan going 2,000 yards or receiver.
But even that might not be good enough. Cooper Kupp won all three.
Yeah, triple crown. Yeah,
and didn't even get a sniff. Really, I feel like it.
So yeah, my second non-quarterback is a quarterback, Anthony Richardson. So that's as much as I can give you.
Cool. Where do we get to? Offensive Rookie of the Year? Is that where we're going next?
That is where we're going next. And as you're loading it up, Paul, I'll let you kick us off.
Yeah, for me, I'm going to go Jaden Daniels, plus 700 for the Commanders. With these awards, you don't necessarily have to get your team doesn't necessarily have to get to the playoffs or anything like that. I think he'll show enough in the passing, and he's got that element of running on the ground. He's got to stop taking contact, which obviously they'll try and work out with him, but he does take off a lot. So I think he might be in a position where he gets close somewhere above 700, 800 yards on the ground. Plus, I think he'll do okay through the air as well. So yeah, I like Jaden Daniels at plus 700. There'll be a lot of just so many highlight plays, I think, of Jaden Daniels, and I think that'll stick out. I think there's a few solid candidates here, but yeah, Jaden Daniels to me at plus 700.
Grant, I'll let Joe finish his drink. I'll go second. I was thinking it would be one of the top two, truthfully, and Marvin Harrison at plus 600, I think is. I just struggle when I think he's going to be one of the top two, and one's plus 200 and one's plus 600. In fact, he's plus 650 on DraftKings. Marvin Harrison Jr. I think he instantly comes into the NFL as one of the top 12, 10 receivers. Kyler Murray, as we've already touched on, is a very, very good top 10, top 12 quarterback in the league. There's not a huge amount of target competition there. Trey McBride's a good tight end, but Marvin Harrison becomes the alpha immediately. I think he's a huge weapon, a huge threat. This market's won by quarterbacks and wide receivers, more so this year than any other. I think will be the favourites for it because, Jonathan Brooks is your top running back this year and he's coming off a torn ACL. Brock Bowers is in an odd situation in Vegas with questionable quarterback play. So I think pick your best quarterback wide receiver and just back it. And I think if you can get the best wide receiver at plus 650, you take it. Joe, who's your choice?
Well, speaking of Malik Neighbours, who was Malik Neighbours? A plus 1,100. And I think it's just like similar where, New York's not got massive amount of production from the wide receivers. So I think he could go in there and be number one. And I think he could have a lot of flashy plays where it's one of them where if you're given a highlight reel where he's going 80 yards, a couple of times in the season. And what we mentioned about Roger, it's the New York effect as well. I think if he hits the ground running and he's, massive, then it's a whole big story compared to someone being great on the Cardinals. Sorry, Cardinal fans, but it's there's certain teams where
I think they know.
Yeah, even like Fitzgerald was one of the best wide receivers, but it never felt like he had. And it might be the kind of person he was, where he wasn't flashy and a diva, as we all mentioned about wide receivers, but. Even like at them kind of positions, it feels like he goes unnoticed as much compared to the certain big teams and certain markets. So I think if Malik Neighbours hits, even if he equals or if he's just below like the yards of Marvin Harrison but have a few flash players, then that could influence voters and go for Malik Neighbours. So that was one. And I'll do another shout out just because you said another one. I do like Bo Nix at plus 2,000 as well. It's just something about him and Sean Payton. Could he just be like a stats machine where he's not amazing and all the other quarterbacks have, the typical rookie season, not have a Stroud kind of season, but have just like a standard, but Bo Nix, when you look at his stats because of how he plays and how Denver's going to play, I think that could be a nice little price at plus 2,000, but that's a long shot, I feel like. So yeah, Malik Neighbours is definitely the one I'll be going for.
I prefer the Neighbours one.
Yeah.
Joe, as well, you were talking about apologise to Cardinals fans. Don't apologise to Cardinals fans. We couldn't fucking find one to do the fans on the clock draft, so don't apologise.
And they had 2 picks.
Yeah.
We couldn't find one fan.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think our Cardinals fans listeners are going to be upset.
Yeah, now we have to go after draft. We have to get Cy Carroll in to do it. He supports the Chargers.
Well, we may have got a Cardinals fan in, but we've just got rid of him again just for.
Nice knowing you.
Everybody gets it. We're leaving the Saints alone for a bit, and we're going to start hammering the Cardinals.
We're not. Joe is.
Joe is, yeah.
We both picked up the Cardinals.
Yeah.
I think Marvin Harrison, you got them in the playoffs. Joe's just like, NFC West, fuck them.
Go at Joe_Hooson. I can't remember if that's handle or not, Joe, but yeah.
Someone's going to get some stick for it.
Well, yeah, someone's going to be, yeah.
Joe, you might as well give some praise to somebody. Who's your defensive rookie of the year?
I'm gonna go. It's tricky this
know it's
one
not a
because
cardinal.
it's certainly not a cardinal. It's tricky. It's tricky this year because usually we say like the pass rusher, and there's usually like one, where you come in from the draft and think he's going to be a home run. And I do like Latu, but it's not the greatest odds. So I'm going to go Terry and Arnold. I just think at plus 1,200. I just think with the team is going at, I think they're going to be there winning division. Yeah, I think they're going to have a good record. So I think at plus 1,200, I do like that. It feels like if he gets a few interceptions, it's tricky with Rookie of the Year. There's usually not someone who's like, wow, he's like, a top player now. There's some players who do it, obviously like Sauce Gardner and other players, but I always feel like it's, a player who's a good team who outperforms, and maybe it's not him individually, it's just what the team does. So at plus 1,200, I'll go for Arnold.
Cool. Paul, who you gone for? D-Roy.
I mentioned before I like the Rams at 33-1 to win the Super Bowl, so I'm going to take their first round pick, Jared Verse out of Florida State, 10-1 plus 1,000. They need somebody to, they're going to need multiple people to pick up the slack from Aaron Donald, and I think he'll do a good job. Can be able to produce a lot of the numbers you need, and the sacks are certainly one of the big ones that help you towards the Defensive Rookie of the Year award. We saw that with kind of Will Anderson kind of going off down the stretch last year, even though he probably wasn't the most consistent. He probably wasn't the best defensive player over the course of the whole season. Still not bitter about that. Jalen Carter, 8-1, not coming in. But yeah, I like Jared Verse. I think he's in a good situation to have kind of like instant impact. And yeah, look, I really struggle to kind of with any of the others, really. The only couple of others just at longer odds were Johnny Newton, Jazar Newton, Commanders, and also actually Mike Samra still at the Commanders as well. I think he could have a really, really good rookie year as well. And they're both 35-1 plus 3,500.
Grand. Well, as you touched on a couple of names, you already took mine. So Jared Verse was my pick as well, 1,100 on DK. Edge rushers, pass rushers win this award predominantly. 4 of the last 5 have been edge rushers other than Sauce Gardner. You go to a high-profile team, you get a lot of sacks. You're going to win the award. I think he's a great bet at 1,100. My secondary one, since you've already waxed about Jared Verse, would be Cooper DeJean at plus 1,600. Just, I think he's going to be used creatively, but Verse would be my bet at plus 1,100. So we move away from the rookies. We move to Offensive Player of the Year. I'll go first since I'm already talking here. I'm going to go with, and kind of my backing for this is no quarterback has won this award since 2018. It's basically a rookie running back and wide receiver award. I think Bijan Robinson's in for a huge year. He's plus 30 to 1 on Bet365 here, I see. He's 2,500 on DK, so always shop around for your best price. Freed from the shackles of Arthur Smith, an offense that's got to be good, or people lose. Well, they're probably not losing their job, but it's going to be a hell of a thing if that offense isn't good after passing on any additions for this year in the draft. I'm going to bang on Penix every time I can, apparently. I think Bijan's the most talented running back to come out since Saquon Barkley, maybe even longer, truthfully. He was hamstrung and still really good last year. I think this is the year he puts up monster numbers, truthfully. I think at 30 to 1 is screaming value. Paul, who are you going?
Well, you mentioned that Bijan Robinson is the most talented running back since Saquon Barkley, and I'm going to take Saquon at plus 40 to 1. I think the Eagles DeAndre Swift managed to get 1,000 yards this season, and they kind of went away from him in big stretches in the second half of the year. I can't see them doing that with Saquon. I think what he's shown New York is you certainly not going to get the ball 30 times a game like you did at the Giants, but I think you just do need to use them all. You need to get in the ball 20, 25 times a game. And I think they will. I think it'll take a little bit off Hurts. And I know obviously that line is aging and you've lost Kelsey, but I just think just controlling that, control that line of scrimmage. Barkley's a punishing runner. I think he's got a little bit of a chip on his shoulder as well. I know he's got injury history, and I think it's probably very unlikely he makes all 17 games. I think he can get you. I think he can get you a 1,800 yard season, and that might be enough.
Yeah, and I think when you mentioned chip on his shoulder, I think he's hurt at how he was treated by the Giants. And I think rightly so, Daniel Jones gets a $40 million a year contract and he gets a franchise tag and let him to walk out the building. I think he's right to feel a bit disrespected and stays in the division. Ideal situation as well, because how often are you going to put 8 in the box against Philly with Devonta Smith and AJ Brown? I wouldn't say often. So, I think he's a great bet 40-1 and an annoying player to still be in the division. Cheers, Howie, again.
I think there's a little bit in that 40-1 as well on the basis that you might say, anything inside the 1 or 2 yard line he won't get.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think he's a runner where actually you don't need to run the tush push all the time.
No, and, DeAndre Swift was great last year for the first half of the season. Saquon Barkley is a step above DeAndre Swift.
Yeah. Like
a big step. So, like you say, don't have to rely on the tush push, and maybe you won't fall at the 1 yard line as often as DeAndre Swift did in the first place. Joe, who have you gone for?
Yeah, I'll go away from the running backs and I'll go Puka Nacua. Nice. I think I do like the plus 2,500. I think Cooper Kupp, I think he's played step back. I think that injury had a big effect to him last year, and I don't know if he's going to get that back, that step. So I think Puka Nacua is going to step into being the number 1 wide receiver for the Rams. Obviously, having Stafford certainly helps, and I think he's got one of them sneaky stat lines. Well, we saw it last year with how many catches had. Way could become the Triple Crown champion just by having standard weeks, just where it's Puka Nacua has caught 7 for 130 for 7 weeks in a row, and it's not be surprising. So I think if he stays fit and plays how he has been playing, I think last year, I think because McCaffrey had such a good year, he was never in the shout, but he was one of them where it's it's because he's a rookie, we're going to give him the rookie one, but he would have been in the shout for Offensive Player of the Year as well. So I think he's more consistent than maybe some of the other choices, and some of the other ones have been getting injured or not being consistent. So I'm going to go Puka Nacua plus 2,500.
Love it. And I just want to make sure I'm not seeing things on the screen here. Bet365 of Justin Fields at shorter odds than Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, where is it?
I think it's 3,500.
He's playing running back, that's why. And special teams.
How much are they valuing kick returns? Just to point out again, we say shop around a lot here. Justin Fields is 150-1 on DraftKings.
Unless we're sponsored.
Unless we're sponsored, in which case F anybody else. But we're not right now. 3,500 for Justin Fields. He's shorter price than Saquon Barkley, than Josh Allen, than Anthony Richardson. Who else is on this list? Cooper Kupp,
Adams,
Patrick Mahomes,
Bebo.
I don't know who's doing the pricing for Bet365, but maybe add a 0 to Justin Fields, because that might be the worst bet I've seen all season. That is horrendous. Did we get all 3 of our offensive players in? Yes, we did. Yes. Yeah. Sorry, this Justin Fields thing has took me for a minute there. That is outrageous. Defensive Player of the Year. Paul, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I don't mind going first. You've been so kind to me. I think I mentioned this one towards the back end of last season. He's one of the shorter odds, but I really like Max Crosby. He's in that collection at 7-1 plus 700. Love Max Crosby. I think he had such a strong end to the gate to his season last year. Antonio Pierce coming in. That D line is mean. The addition of Wilkins. I just think that's a unit that's going to be so much better. I think Raiders again don't necessarily have to have a strong year record wise. I think that unit can get enough production. Max Crosby at 700. So I think he's just been making improvements year on year. And I think he belongs in that elite, with the elite ends, the elite pass rushers in the NFL. And I think he'll go one step further next year.
Yeah, he was on my short list, definitely. Not the longest price, but I think Christian Wilkins is going to be a huge addition there as well, because them two just don't come off the field. So tough to contain the pair of them for entire games. Joe, who have you gone for?
Yeah, I'm going to go with one of them short odds as well, just because that's where the prize normally goes. I'm going to go TJ Watt, just because it felt like there might be a narrative this year that he should have won it last year and all that kind of thing. So could there be a narrative like, it feels like that's why Miles got it the year just gone, because he felt like, oh, he should have won it a few years before and he should have at least got one. So I wonder if he's going to, carry over and be, oh, TJ Watt should have won it last year. So that kind of narrative. But I've got a longer odds one, but I'll let you go first, Byron, unless I steal it from you.
Cheers. I do have a longer odds one. I've got 40-1. Brian Burns. That Giants D line is tasty. Obviously, they added Brian Burns this offseason. They already have Kayvon Thibodeau, who I think has the potential to break out, not bust. And Dexter Lawrence is he the best defensive tackle in football now that Aaron Donald is not in football? He's certainly up there if he's not.
Jones.
Yeah, probably Chris Jones, actually. Yeah, but he's certainly up there. I think that's a great D-line. And if that means Brian Burns gets more one-on-one matchups, watch out, because he is a monster. So, I think he can rack up numbers. And, 40-1, I just think that's a great price for him. Yeah,
my other shout was Sauce Gardner. I just thought, if the Jets have a great year, it took me a while. It's Ahmed Gardner there, Paul. Obviously,
I was just instantly looking for Sauce.
So plus 5,000. I think if it's not going to be any of the edge rushers, then I think Sauce Gardner is probably up there to be the guy who would win it, just because I think he has a narrative to start with, being, had such a good rookie year. He's got the personality. He's got the been at the New York market. And I think if the Jets have a great year and he has one of them seasons where he's a full-on lock corner, kind of like a Revis Island kind of years where everyone's just like, yes, he's a man, and they make it far in the playoffs, then he could certainly be with a shout, and at plus 5,000, it might be worth a punt.
Like it, yeah. Into our final two awards. Comeback Player of the Year. Joe, who are you going with?
I struggled with this, but I'm going to go Richardson at plus 750. I always think it's going to probably be one of the quarterbacks. It feels like there was quite a few quarterbacks who went down last year. So I think there's a few to choose from. And I think, having that rookie in here, if he can stay fit, then I think he could be one of them stat machines where and I've already picked the Colts to win the division. So I think if they do that, then it's Richardson's award.
I will piggyback. I've got Anthony Richardson at plus 750.
So we don't have the market on the screen. Apologies. I was just playing around.
We don't. So Betfred side don't have it up yet. DraftKings do. I can run through some of the favourites if we want, but I have Anthony Richardson at plus 750. A quarterback has won this award 6 years in a row, and the quarterbacks are the top 6 odds as well. You got Rodgers at plus 100, Burrow plus 200, Cousins plus 500, Richardson 750, Wilson 1200, Deshaun Watson 1500. Then you get into 20-1 Chubb, Tank Dell, Daniel Jones, Justin Herbert, etc. But I'm not picking a second one. I think it's Anthony Richardson. I wanted to pick him for something. And again, I think he can come out and light the league up. Plus 750, I think is a great bet. Shane Steichen, we've touched on already, is a great offensive coach. Paul, your MVP favourite is what, plus 100? Is that where we're going? Or
it's boring. So Rodgers, but then I've got like another one where I think, and we could maybe book the trend of the quarterbacks. We saw Nick Chubb have a quite frankly horrific knee injury in week whatever it was, 2 was it last year? 2 or 3? It was week 2 against the Steelers, wasn't it?
Yeah,
that was grim. If he comes back and has a monster season, why the hell not Nick Chubb? And especially like if Aaron Rodgers is in MVP contention and does win MVP, I think they do kind of like to go, well, we'll go with somebody else, don't they? Yeah.
Zach Wilson 100-1. Fancy it now?
I'd love that. You know, while we were talking then, sorry, I was pissing about on the screen for anybody that's watching on YouTube. I apologise. I was trying to find Deron Bland on Defensive Player of the Year.
All right, yeah.
If he manages to break his own record that he set last year, he should fucking win Defensive Player of the Year, no matter what anybody else does. But I cannot find him on this list.
Well, because the Cowboys are going to win, 6 or 7 games, Paul? So
he might return 15 interceptions for touchdowns.
With DraftKings, he's 100-1. Yeah. I think I'd leave it alone, I must say.
It's 100-1 on there. I couldn't find him. He was in between. Some others. But
Control
there's these Deron Bland, DeMarcus Lawrence, Dexter Lawrence, and Dre Greenlaw all next to each other. I just didn't see Deron Bland in there.
Well, it's hard when you're bland to stand out.
Excellent.
Yes. So we all had our comeback player of the year. 2 of us gone Richardson. Coach of the year.
We're back on the screen.
We're back on the screen. Paul, you want to get us going here?
Yeah, I'm going to go Jonathan Gannon. Yeah, I say just that Cardinals thing. If you get Cardinals to the playoffs, if they find a way to win double-digit games, plus 25 to 1, plus 2,500. I think that been a kind of popular one in terms of somebody playing the drums. What's going on? Somebody who's kind of come from a bad year to go to have a good year. I think that's that kind of move that we see, don't we? Our kind of coach that wins it. We saw that with Brian Dayball in 2022, didn't we? And stuff like that. Team that wasn't so good the year before maybe gets to the playoffs.
And a screaming value here because it's 1,500 on DraftKings.
Yeah, 25 to 1. I like it.
If it's 2,500 to 1 on DraftKings, he probably would have been my pick. But I thought I'll go a bit longer, and I'm kind of talking myself into my own pick here, so I'll carry on. I went Mike McDonald at 20 to 1. Again, I think the Seahawks are going to be good. I think it's breath of fresh air, new head coach thing. Again, the Seahawks weren't bad last year, but they did miss the playoffs. So I think getting into the playoffs as the second team, or maybe winning the division, I don't think that's out of the realm. I just think it's a good price at 20 to 1. I probably would have taken Gannon if he was 25 to 1 on DraftKings, though, I must say. So, and yeah, I see that Mike McDonald's 16 to 1 here. So again, I feel like we're going to say this a lot. Shop around. Make sure you get your best price. Joe, who's your coach of the year?
Let's go Dan Quinn.
Oh,
28 to 1. I just think it always feels like it's a new head coach. It's a team which were, diabolical the year before and then, has a good year. I think like what Paul mentioned with Jane Daniels, if it can be like an exciting year where even if like they just miss out on the playoffs, I think that's such a big leap for the Commanders and, everything around them. So I think it could be certainly be an option. And at that price of 28 to 1, I think you always got to go for a team who wasn't great, but makes a big leap. It feels like that is the narrative each year. So, yeah, let's go Dan Quinn with that with them odds.
Love it. And another advert to shop around. 18 to 1 on DraftKings. So, yeah, it's funny that Mike McDonald's worse here and the other two are better here. So, yeah, I mean, that's it. I mean, I think we rolled through those. Picks didn't do too many honorable mentions, but yeah, I think that was a great early look at the season and who we think's going to be good, who we think's maybe not going to be so good for some of them. But
and it could come back in a few months' time when we've got completely different picks. So
we'll do it again. We'll do it again in the first, last week of August. That'll be completely different.
Can't wait to pick the Ravens to win the division.
3 months to think about it. Byron, thanks very much for steering the ship. Led the way very well. Thanks for watching and listening. However you choose to view Good Teams and Great Teams cover. We'll be back next week. We were going to do this. We're going to do the Sporting Goats draft we were due to do this week, but we just could not make it work with guests and schedules, and Byron and Joe are too busy working. But we've got that for next week. We've got Andy Davis joining us, so we're looking forward to that. Possibly an extra guest as well, working on as well. So we might have five in the house for that one. Sporting Goats, draft of the sports greatest of all time. I think that'll be a really good episode. So tune in for that one. As always, come give us a follow. Good Teams and Great Teams cover over on Spotify to be notified of new episodes when they drop. Also, give us a follow on YouTube, Twitter /X, Instagram, and TikTok at GTW_GTC. This has been the Bets to the Future episode of Good Teams and Great Teams cover, and we'll see you again soon.
Cheers.